Good evening. Hello. This evening, I have Eldon Faulkner from Home Depot on Court Street. And he's been here before. I invited him back again. He's got some new tricks to show us. So please welcome Eldon Faulkner.
It's good to be with you. She came and she asked me to come and talk to you guys for a little bit about a couple of things, because she was in the store and she started asking me a lot of questions and about Home Depot. And my job with Home Depot, I've been with them 22 years. And I've been all over the country with them in different stores. And my job is to save you time and money, bottom line. So I work pro. I take the pros that come in. I've got PASAs, they call them PASAs, pro associates that do your takeoffs. If you call and you need something, make sure that it's done and up to the front in the perfect world when I've got a million people working. But the thing that we were talking about is she kind of overheard me talking to somebody about our pro MRO, our volume pricing VPP. Has anybody in here heard of volume pricing? Okay.
Is that similar to the bid room or same thing? Or?
Yes, bid room. It's the old bid room.
Okay.
So with the bid room, basically, you spend $1,500 in my store on anything from soil at one end to wood at the other and anything in between, and it adds up to $1,500 before tax. Then I throw it through what I call bid room. So the bid room goes off and looks at the margin between cost and retail of what you're buying, and then kicks back instantly within a matter of seconds a discount. Could be $1, could be $300 or $400, depending on margins. Now, high margin items are like faucets and fasteners and things like that. So, and products like what he's going to show you here. So they're a higher margin item and you get more of a discount. Electricians, a lot of plumbers, they make out really big because of the high margin items. Lumber, we don't make anything on lumber, so it would be the nails and fasteners. So to be part of that, to get into that, is what we call Pro Extra. Now, Pro Extra, a lot of you are in, and Pro Extra basically is our Kroger card with your phone number. You come in, every time you buy something, you use your phone number to check out and pay for it, and you can look it up online. And you can see everything you've done, and you can put a job name with it. You can say, hey, I've got this house, and this house. One of the bigger ones that I deal with is GLA Management, and they have houses, and they can literally, I can go on there and I can take 50 homes in different, they can say, it's this house, this address, and I can tell them exactly what they've spent, and they can look it up online themselves. So it really helps you out. Plus, if you ever lose a receipt, or anybody that works for you ever lose a receipt and you need to return something, put in your phone number, they scan the item, if you bought it, it's returned. So it's really simple. The next thing is to save money-wise, other than volume pricing, is Home Depot teamed up with NREA. How many of you know NREA? Okay, so NREA, as long as you're part of it, and we put you in under your Pro Extra, NREIA under a code, then you get the 2% back in a Home Depot gift card twice a year, every 6 months, just for being a member. So that's another good thing there. One of the biggest benefits a lot of my contractors and property managers, all my customers take advantage of is Menards, 11%. So if you don't know it, I want to tell you that Menards, bad word, no, I'm joking. Menards actually will run their 11%. I check every single Monday morning. Every single Monday. And if it is, we see an influx of business coming in because people know that we match 11% to theirs. Theirs is mail-in, ours is mail-in, but I also have where you can do it online. So 2 weeks later. If you have an issue like we do sometimes, you'll come into the store, call the 800 number, and have it taken care of. There is a couple things that they won't match 11% on, and there's a list of them that I have that you can come see me on, but some of it's like appliances and things like that, but usually everything else just goes right straight through, and you get 11% back on a Home Depot gift card. So if you're talking volume pricing, and I put it through, let's say you have a $1,500 as the benchmark for volume pricing, and you put that through, and you pay for it, and you put your Pro Extra in there, which you had to because that's how you get into it. Now you've got whatever I'm giving you on the volume pricing, you're getting the 2% back. You're doing it the week Menards is doing it, so you're getting 11%. So now you're at 13% right there, plus on top of it, whatever Home Depot kicks you back, so you can double and triple dip there. So that makes a big deal and a lot of savings go along. Now here's the kicker on that. So let's say you want to do that, and you might want over 1,500, but you don't know 100% that you have everything you need. Once you're into that $1,500 and in the bid room, you have 7 days to use that on any item under $1,500. So let's say you go $1,500 this week, and within 7 days you go in and you say, you know what, I need caulk and some paint. It's going to cost me $60. Run it through. Go to one of the desks and say, hey, I'm already in the bid room, run this through volume pricing, and see what it takes off for you. Fair enough? So, also on top of it, I think the other benefit is I don't know, anybody ever use the Kroger gift cards with us and know that program? A lot of my customers, bigger customers that I have, they pay for everything in Kroger gift cards. Because they'll use everything I just told you for savings, then they'll walk in and they'll get two $500 or $3 $500 Kroger gift cards, and bam, there you go. There's all the savings right there, with upwards of what? At $1,035 per 1,000 points, you're upwards of $200 in free gas. So now they're going free gas with using Home Depot gift cards through Kroger. Then they're going VPP, 11%, 2%. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But that's what I do all day. So when you have questions on this, I know I gave you a ton of things. All you gotta do is call me. Come in, see me, sit down. I'll show you all of this. I'll put my cards back here on the table, pick them up. If you got questions now before he gets started, I'll answer anything for you. Same thing goes with these two books here. Most of them are online because it's hard to actually carry these around. But this is Pro MRO. This is maintenance, repair, and operations of things that is not in the store that I can get you in 2 to 3 days shipped right to your office, your home, any home that you have. It can go wherever you need it to in 2 to 3 days. Okay? And then Barnett, we just purchased Barnett. So Barnett's another book. So now you've got two in HVAC, the cleaning supplies, anything you can possibly need. You literally can give the website on a phone to somebody working for you or yourselves and go through and say, you know what, I can get that. There's furnaces in there that I sell a lot of, and it's just shipped right to you. So these are another huge tool for us right now to get you stuff that's not in the store to get it quick.
Are those catalogs online at a certain website?
Yes. Yeah, right on HomeDepot.com under Pro, and you'll see them there. It's really easy. You won't see prices. Prices are changing all the time. Warehouses are in Detroit, and they're going to send them to you. They've got appliances, so if you ever like the basic white stoves and refrigerators and things like that, it's so awesome because you can just order them right through there. They deliver them. Anything happens, you change your mind or anything, they pick them up next day. I mean, we love it because we don't have a third party. It's just boom. We ask for it and it's there. We see it on the screen what they have in the warehouse to make sure that when you guys order something, you're not going to be without it. So, any questions for me?
I got one question. How can you check to see that the NAREA is on your take on your membership?
All you gotta do is call me, or you can get onto your Pro Extra, and under your Pro Extra account, you'll actually see all your information, and then it'll say code, and it won't tell you it's NAREA code because obviously there's other codes out there for Home Depot, but in that code you can it's the only thing that's going to be under your profile, and you just put NREIA on there and hit enter. If not, you call me, I'll do it for you. Anything else? Okay. If you do, like I said, I'm easy to get a hold of. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Now, the star of the show. I'd like to introduce you to my rep here for Rapid Set. He's going to go over some product and why. I was telling everyone why I picked him is because he does stuff in the store for us to train us, and he's one of the best vendors that we have to sit there and showcase his product, and his product's absolutely awesome. So without further ado.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. My name is Jordan. I am the Northern Michigan Technical Service Representative for Rapid Set Cement. Today I'm going to be going over a lot of information, so I'll be sticking around for a little bit for any questions. First off, would anyone like to just be part of the presentation with the brochure? I'm going to hand that in. Thank you, guys. So, today I'm going to start off with our new tubes, sealants and adhesives. But first things first, we are an exclusive vendor for Home Depot. You only get it at Depot, so that's great the partnership that we have for them. But when it comes to our tubes, Home Depot challenged our company to build a better tube and a better chemical compound. So my personal favorite feature is our tubes are plastic. Tips are attached. I can't tell you how many times I've been into a store, people returning damaged tubes because it slides around their truck everywhere. So these tubes, completely submergible, not a big deal. Now, our chemical compound is a little bit different. It's a polyether silane hybrid. So it's the best parts of polyurethane and the best parts of silane. With that silane, we get 100% UV resistant, low odor, low VOC, and no isocyanates. So that's no odor. Get on your hands, you don't need a harsh chemical to get them off. And with that being said, it's one of the only sealants that will work underwater. It'll work on wet surfaces and even repel water. So if you got, for example, a saw cut in your driveway, you got to have it filled and it's wet. We have a self-leveling sealant that will literally push that water out of the crack and seal itself right on. Just to demonstrate that real quick, this is our flexible construction adhesive. It's very similar to our non-sag. Both these products are overhead, vertical, and horizontal applications. You can get about 2 inches on the wall without this material sagging whatsoever. And this is more of a suction demonstration, but it just goes to show, I mean, if you guys can see it, this stuff is sticking right to the brick. And my tongue comes breaking. That's enough. So with this material, if I twist it or bend it, it's obviously going to break the seal. But that just goes to show you that even in a very wet environment, this stuff sticks. And the only difference between that and our non-sag sealant comes in multiple colors: white, gray, sandstone. We just came out with a brand new textured version for tuck pointing and matching the existing mortar. And like I said, just not the same PSI rating, but pretty close. And the flexible construction adhesive is about 827 tube. Our non-sag is 6. But then we got our self-leveling adhesives. This material right here. Silane also prevents application fatigue. Very easy for this material to flow out of the tube. If anyone wants to come up and give it a try, I have a little display here. But the biggest problem with this stuff is the UV breakdown. It says it's supposed to last 5 to 10 years. I just know with Michigan weather, with all the freezing and thawing that we got and the UV rays, you're looking at 3. So we developed a better chemical compound, like I said. Only thing that we really can't bond to is new asphalt because of the oils in it. But as you can see on this display board, we'll do foam board, ceramic tile, metal to metal, wood to wood. I challenge anybody at my last demo to try and pull this brick apart in 15 minutes and I'd buy them lunch. Couldn't do it. So if anyone wants to try it today, I'll buy them dinner. But it's right here if you want to try it. The next thing that we have developed is a 2-part. It's a 2-part epoxy and a 2-part acrylate. The 2-part epoxy is a fast. That stuff sets up about 2 hours, rock solid in 4. At 24 hours is over 10,000 PSI. Our green tube of ultra fast sets up in about 15 minutes and it'll hold me up in 30. I'll adhere a block to a wall and I'll stand on it in 30 minutes and it'll hold me, and I'm a big guy. So at 28 days, both those products are well over 28,000 PSI. And we're just further developing it to be even better, stronger, and more affordable. So that's really it for the tubes.
How much is a tube of that?
Of the fast.
The 2-part? Yeah.
The 2-part acrylate is 23. 2-part epoxy is 22. And those are the only products that we have that cure to a cementatious base finish. It's not flexible, it gets rock solid. So if anyone wants to try it, I mean, that's it right there.
That's the 2-part?
Yes.
And is there a hole in this?
Yeah, I drilled a hole in there and then just put it in there. One's galvanized, I believe, one's steel, and it'll adhere to everything.
That'd be good for sticky, for anchors that keep popping out.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect for that. That's another thing why I go into the next thing that we have. Is anyone familiar with the Rapid Set cement products? Okay. So we have about 4 bags at Home Depot. We have a mortar mix, a cement-all, and a concrete mix, and a concrete leveler. I didn't bring it with me because of spacing and I'd just make a big cloud of a mess. But our cement materials are rock solid in 1 hour, 3,000 PSI in that 1 hour, and salt resistant. Everything that I'm talking about is in that brochure right there. Our concrete leveler is one of my favorite materials that I think is not more shouted out there. It is an underlayment material only, interior, exterior. It goes from about a feathered edge to 2 inches thick. It can be extended to 5 with pea gravel. There's not a lot of underlayments at Depot that go up to that. You're also ready for tile in 2 to 4 hours. Me and my dad just redid his bathroom up north. We were basically done in 1 weekend, and it was a lifesaver. But going back to our 3 main bags, start with the cement-all first. It's in the blue bag. We have it in a 55-pound bag, and right now it's $22 a bag. We have a 25-pound box of it, and it's, I believe, $16. But that cement-all goes from a feathered edge to 4 inches thick. It has no aggregate, it's just a pure silica sand. You got about 15 to 20 minutes of work time, and you're done. It does kind of cure to a beigeish white, but it literally does everything. From anchoring to post holes to pouring molds, all the above. The next one that we have is our mortar mix. It's in the brown bag, same thing, 55-pound bag, 25-pound box. That has a plaster sand aggregate in it, and that goes from about a 1/2 inch to 6 inches. And that is almost very similar to the cement-all. It's just more for tuck pointing and small repairs and small walls and whatnot. And then we have our concrete mix, which is basically the closest thing we have to like a Quikrete 5000. And that is $12 a bag. It's just a pea gravel additive. And that goes from about 2 inches to 24 inches with no rebar required. At this price point, I realize it's not for major jobs, but there might be times where you need to have something done on the spot like that. I can't tell you how many building inspector stories I hear. But it's just we develop these products for commercial use, commercial and homeowner use. We developed it in mind of being DOT mix, and everything that we have is through Army Corps of Engineers. It meets every ASTCM quality control. We do have 2 new products in the cementatious base line. We have a water stop and a Newcrete. It's a concrete resurfacer revitalizer. I'll start with the Newcrete. The Newcrete is perfect for filling in small voids and holes and hairline cracks in your yard. Makes old concrete look brand new. Adds a little bit of a dye to it and about 1,000 psi, and it's a salt-resisting material. And it is easy as mixing it up to like a pancake syrup consistency, dumping it right out and troweling it, or using a squeegee, pulling it back, blends in perfect. You can finish that off with a broom finish so it's non-slip, and it is a lifesaver sometimes. But going to our water stop is very comparable to every competitor that's in Home Depot. Just we set up in about 3 to 6 minutes. We're about 3,000 psi in the first 30 minutes to an hour. So our product becomes structural, where theirs is kind of iffy.
What would you use that for?
Leaky basements. Like if you got a crack in your foundation, it's just easy to just pack in there, wear gloves because this material does get hot. Pack it in there, shape it up with your mark and trowel, you're good to go. Now a lot of this material is, a lot of people skip out on the prep work, and that's the biggest mistake. It is a hydraulic cement, so it does set up very fast. So I always say clean, no dirt, dust, and debris, power wash, blow the power, your dirt away, and wet the surface. Because with our material, it's a hydraulic, so it cooks from within, and you don't want it taking up all the moisture from there. And as it sets up, you'll notice a color change in the material. I always suggest spraying it down with some water, prevent any sort of spider cracking, and you're going to get a perfect pour. Does anybody have any questions right now?
Are all of two products paintable?
Yes.
You can paint right over them?
Yes, in about 24 hours you can paint them. And like I said, these are brand new products. They're about a year old now, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve them. So we're even talking about getting a black non-sag color to match with like roofing, and also a clear. This year too, we just came out with the non-sag and the flexible construction piece of being a mold resistant. So these are just the things that we're constantly doing to improve. We get our tubes from Kimlink, which is over in Schoolcraft, Michigan, so it's a local product for us. And yeah, if anyone wants to come up and try the self-leveling sealant, it truly is the easiest material in the world. All you got to do, it's self-explanatory. You just put the cock in the tube, pull it back, cut the tip, you're good to go. And that's if you have a perfect saw cut. Then you're dealing with something like a back or rod issue. So, any other questions?
What else? These aren't in the normal,
In concrete aisle.
oh, in the concrete aisle.
Concrete aisle, and Quikrete, you guys know Quikrete.
Yeah.
So Quikrete will be in its own, then tools, and then you'll see all of the Brevin set products. So Quikrete's been, around forever, and we've got it all the way through, and it's different price points, and they do different things. So the reason that I kind of picked this one is mostly because of foundations and, sidewalks and driveways and things like that, but then other applications that he's going to show you also. So
Another thing too, little insider secret, we are coming out with 2 new products. I can't say exactly when they'll be here. But like I was talking about with our concrete mix, we are coming out with a product called 24/6. It's very similar to Quikrete 5000. It just sets up in about, it's our very first Portland mix material. So that goes from, like I said, 2 to 24 inches. And it's about $7 a bag versus 12. You're gonna get some bleed water and some shrinkage with it, but at that price point, you're still getting a medium version of our concrete mix. If you need something still faster than that, I recommend the green bag all the way. The other one that we're coming out with, Home Depot does not have a SKU like it at all. It is a waterproofing mortar mix. And that material is mixed up almost like, again, a pancake syrup consistency. You mix it up, you can either roll it on, brush it on, or trowel it on. And it's meant to only go about a 1/2 inch thick, and it completely seals in any foundations. We're looking at about $36 a bag on that, because I guess the closest competitor is Menards, and that's what they have for their product. But very exciting. I believe Burton is getting the waterproofing mortar mix. We're only getting 10 stores turned on. So it's just a test right now.
Is that something you can travel on inside from the basement? Okay.
Yep. I only got to play with it once in California, and it was, again, out of all the material we have, the easiest to mix.
What if you have mold, mildew, crumbly stuff, old paint stuff on the foundation wall
I would remove the paint and mold and mildew as best you can.
with a power washer?
Yeah, power washer. If you use muriatic acid to acid etch it, just flush it very, very well.
Okay.
Other than that, you should have no problem bonding.
Is that in the 55 pound bag?
I believe it's in a 36 pound bag. The 24/6 will be in a 60 pound bag, which I wish it was in an 80 pound bag, but I'm kind of at the mercy of Depot. But again, at least we're getting it out here in Michigan and not California, because that's where we're based. So, any other questions?
We were talking, and I was gonna have you tell them about support-wise from
Oh.
your company.
Right. So I am a vendor representative for Rapid Set. I go into all the northern Michigan Home Depot stores from Harper Woods all the way to Alpena. I have business cards. I plan on handing them out to everybody who wants them. But what I do is I am a support person. I come out to the job site. I won't do the job for you, but I can teach mixing practices, prepping practices, and placing practices. Even hand out some samples, let it be cementatious-based material or tubes. Whatever the job needs, I want to get that product in your hand and make you a believer. So, if you got any cards for me about any future work that you might have, I'm more than happy to take them and build a beautiful relationship. So, I'm just here to support you guys. If my product does not work for you, I will do my very best to find a product that will. Even if that means going to a competitor, I just want to help you get your job done. So that's my overall goal, and I'm just an educator. I hope this was enough information to point you in the right direction. Again, this material is not for every application, but there might be a time where you do need it. So, we did just get our concrete mix on the bulk price system. I believe right now if you buy 20 bags, it's $8. If you guys do a lot of self-leveling sealant, our 28-ounce self-leveling tubes just went on the bulk price. Buy 10 tubes, get them for $12.59. Original price is $15. And again,
That's one thing with the bulk pricing. With bulk pricing, that's one thing that computer will pick up on with the bulk pricing that he's talking about. And let's say you have to buy 6 or 10, that the volume pricing will not let you double dip on. Just to let you know.
good to know.
It'll be one or the other, you know.
All right, and with our, going back to the tubes, something I did forget to mention, with our tubes being a different chemical compound, like I said, this is a hybrid polyether saline mix. It is a little bit different than polyurethane. With this material, chances are you might get a little mustard effect at the top. That's going to happen. All you got to do is just go over the clear on top of the gray. You'll never notice a difference. But again, this product will last you 10 to 12 years without any problems whatsoever, if prep is done. So,
What's a mustard effect?
come on, you never open up a bottle of mustard and have the clear
Turn
stuff?
yellow?
No, there's a little clear stuff at the top.
Huh?
What?
Why you shake your
What? There's what?
Clear stuff?
Oh, clear stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Okay. Clear stuff at the top. All you gotta do is either extrude it out in a cup or put it in a hole and just go over it with a grip.
I was kind of thinking the same thing myself, so.
So it's what's in the tube.
What's in the tube?
But it is in the tube.
Yes.
It's the first stuff to come out?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you put that in the
It'll
bottom.
either be at the top or the bottom, depending on what store associate placed the tube on the shelf. So,
Okay.
and then again, it's not going to hurt it. It's not going to do anything to it. If anything, it's going to make it stronger while remaining flexible. So that is just something that our chemical compound does. We start to separate around 7 months, where polyurethanes are at 9 months. But again, that does not make it any less of a better product. Just go right over it. So, and the only reason it's only prominent in this material because of the viscosity of it. It's a little bit runnier versus our flexible construction adhesive, which can go 2 inches on the wall and not go anywhere. So, any other questions? I did forget one thing. In our brochures, this product still scares me, and I've been doing this for about a year now. We have a product in here called Set Control. It's the little blue or little green packet in the middle page on the bottom. You can add up to 4 of those packets per mix, and your material will not set up for at least an hour. That gives you a little bit more work time with it, especially if you need it on a hot day. We also have another product called Flow Control. It's right next to it. You add that right to your mix to give it a more fluid consistency. So for example, if you're trying to pipe in some mortar with some tuck point in, you add that to your mix, easier work time and flowability. So that's another thing I did forget. Other than that, there are some products in here that we just do not carry in Michigan, like our one-pass drywall mud and stucco mix and stucco patch. Not that much need for it. So, but Eldon can order it at the Pro Desk. I don't know the minimums on it, but it can be ordered. I just wish I had more information on the one pass for you guys. So,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you. I know, again, it was a lot of information, so thank you so much. Give me a call, shoot me an email, a text, whatever. I'm more than happy to help out as best as I can. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So you're gonna have some cards back there too?
Yes, sir.
All right.
If you could just set them on the back table.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. So on to the general meeting. We've got one main speaker. Before we go to the main speaker, Drew is passing out a flyer for the new rental application software that we've had built for the landlord association. So this rent application software is called onlinerentapp.com, and it's like an all-in-one solution for collecting your tenants' data and information when you're trying to rent out one of your properties. So if you go to the GLA website, on the top menu bar, there will be a button that says onlinerentapp.com. You can click on that. In that button, it will give you a step-by-step guide on how to set up your account on this new system. So this system will allow you guys to set up a custom rent application. So some people want a husband and a wife to apply on the same app. Some people want them to apply on separate. You can make that decision by customizing the rental application to you. Now this application can be filled out on a cell phone or a computer. They don't have to print anything. They don't have to do anything like that for it. Also, inside of this rent application, they can upload pictures of their pay stubs, pictures of their photo ID, all from their cell phone. So once they press submit, it will pull a credit and a background check on this tenant. So the tenant pays $25 to pay for these background checks. You pay $0. So you could have 5 different templates for different properties. Like you could have a commercial application, a residential, a land contract application, and then you could even have applications inside of the system that you don't charge the $25. So you just want to get basic contact information from the tenant. You can set up that application. So this flyer here has some information on the front, a little bit of an example of what a credit report would look like. They've made it really easy to read credit reports. Like if you pull we've pulled some in the last couple days testing it on some rental units, and it shows, the credit report just shows up right at the top. It'll show if their credit is 580 or 780. It'll show all their open lines, everything there. And then the criminal background check, like we found out one of the guys, he's been clean since 1990. In 1990, he had some bail jumping, so he's been good since 1990, so chances are we can rent the property to him. So it's just little things that are useful pieces of information, and it's all free for you guys to use. Just set it up online. On the bottom and on the back of this is Drew's phone number. Drew is the gentleman here who films the meetings. He set all this up. So if you've got questions about how something works, setting up your application, how something works, just call Drew. You can call him, text him, email him, whatever's easiest for you, and he'd be the support to make sure everything runs smooth on this. Any questions? Do you guys think it's something you can use? Okay. One little way that I use this system currently in the testing stages is I set up a very, very short application I collect name, phone number, email, picture of their ID, and I put lock boxes on my properties in good areas, and I text them the link for the application. So I have a short code that's onlinerentout.com/showing, and I text them the link for that. They fill out the basic information on their phone. Once I know who's going to enter my home, I just give them the lockbox code. They enter the house, and now I knew who was in my house. They just let me know when they were in, and it saved me a trip driving 30 minutes to show a rental property. You like that? All right. All right, so that's all about this. Yes, go ahead.
So say I have someone that applies for a property.
Yep.
They don't take it, their name and information's in the system.
Yep.
They come to you to rent from you. They gotta do it again?
Yes.
Okay.
So the system, the data that you collect is your data.
Okay.
So it all goes into a dashboard. So every time someone fills out an application, it will send you an email and it puts it into your own dashboard. So any tenant that ever applied for your property, you'll have records of, and then from the system, you can choose to approve or reject their application. And then when you say if you hit approve, you can write there's a template that says, congratulations, you've been approved. And then you can edit it also to say something extra. Or if you've rejected, you can say that it'll give check boxes for the reasoning, or you can just check other and it says, sorry, your application's been rejected. So you don't have, if you reject their application, you have to call them, it emails it to them that they've been rejected. Any other questions? All right, well, I guess I was more excited about than you guys. All right, so on to our main speaker. We have the director of the Housing Choice Voucher Program from Flint Housing Commission, Ms. Harper. Please help me welcome Ms. Harper. Would you like the mic?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kalia Harper. I'm the Housing Choice Voucher Director. And with me, I have my Deputy Director, Ebony Nugent. She's here, a lovely lady here in a tan sweater. And the reason I'm here is to explain our program, to provide information for any landlords who are interested in participating, and also to give you guys who are landlords clarification or opportunity to ask any questions you may have. So, next slide. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program is a federally funded housing program that assists with very low income families, that's 50% of the area median income, with rental assistance. The HUD definition of family is elderly and disabled individuals, single people, and families to lease market rate units in the private market that are in good condition. Basically, what we're looking for is to provide the people who receive Section 8 assistance, Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8 used interchangeably. The new term, however, is Housing Choice Voucher. Sometimes we are accustomed to hearing Section 8, so it's the same thing. To find affordable, clean, decent, safe housing. Okay, next slide. The Housing Choice Voucher Program is funded by HUD. And for the Flint Housing Commission administers the HCV program for HUD. So how does the Housing Choice Voucher Program work? A family who qualifies for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, they searches for an eligible unit at market rate on a private market. Once leased, the family typically pays about 30% of their gross monthly income, and it's adjusted, so they may have different allowances they may receive, or if they pay child care, they get a deduction and things of that nature. So if you look at it and you'd be like, okay, no, they don't qualify. If they bring the application to you and you wanted to put it through, then go ahead and put it through, and we will contact you if they don't qualify and let you know. Okay?
They don't know what they qualify for in advance?
So the way it's calculated, we have to have the information on a unit, like what utilities they'll pay. So the utilities won't be universal across the board. So one house that has a gas furnace is a different price from an electric furnace. So the only thing we give them is an estimate, and then once we receive the paperwork, we can put it through and give them confirmation. Okay? And then the subsidy is what the public housing agency authority pays. So if their rent is $500 and 30% of their gross income, they pay $100. Then the subsidy you receive from the housing commission is the $400. So I lost my place. I'm sorry. So a HAP is considered a contract. So the HAP contract is between the housing commission and the landlord or the landowner. What binds you to the tenant is your lease and then a tenancy addendum. Each year, the family must qualify for the program to continue to receive rental assistance. So annually, or when they have a change in income or circumstance, you'll be notified how much that will pay for their rent, the subsidy. So if their income goes up, there's not an effect until the following verification time period. If it goes down, it takes us 30 days to process it. So you might start off getting $250, then they get their hours cut or lose one of their jobs, then we'll pick up the difference. Next slide, please. So, how the HCV program works for owners. Owners enter the process with a family when a family selects their unit. And the owner is responsible for the screening. We do our screening, but this tenant will be your tenant once you take them on. So you still have to hold them to your standards. You still want to do your background checks, your credit checks, what have you. So we screen them one thing and you screen them for what you need. So just because we say they qualify, they met our standards, they may not meet your standards. So it's very important that you screen all your applicants. The Flint Housing Commission is not responsible for screening the applicant's suitability. The Flint Housing Commission will determine if the unit is suitable for the family. Determine if the family can afford to live in a unit and pay their share of utilities. And rent reasonableness. What rent reasonableness is, so if you have, we compare the prices of private market. So if you're in one area and you're charging $900 and everybody else is charging $700, and we would have to bring that down to make it rent reasonable. From time to time, people put a lot of work in their homes. They're like, this is what I want to get for it. And sometimes that don't always line up. Now it's your choice to participate. You will have to lower the rent, or you can just go to the next tenant. The FHC will schedule the unit for inspection. The inspection is very important. The utilities have to be on and working before we can do the inspection. But prior to the inspection, you will receive like the different things that we check, and also on the table, the blue book, that tells you the different things we check as well. So we'll come through, do the inspection, and after the inspection, if it passes, you're good to go. If you don't, you'll have up to 30 days to resolve the issue. If it's an emergency issue, like no batteries in a smoke detector, something like that, that's a 24-hour health and safety issue. So you will have to resolve that as soon as possible. well, within 24 hours. So what are the benefits for owners? Hard to keep up when I can't see the screen. You get a pool of people that you can list your house with. So let's say, Miss Snell, I don't know where she is, but let's say Miss Snell has a property that she wants to list. Then she can just fill out the form and give it to me, and then we'll update our spreadsheet up on the front desk. If she do a flyer, we'll hang the flyer up. So when everybody that comes in that's looking for that size unit will have access to the property. And then you also kind of get I hate to say 100%, but you kind of get a better outcome with the rent. So, you know, if they start in the program, and they'll be in the program, and even if their income exceed our limits, they still can be in the program for 6 additional months. So it's not they get a job, their income goes up, now you lose your subsidy. It will give them 6 months to make sure that it's stable before they leave the program. And we can do direct deposit. I don't know about you guys, but I know paper checks. I know I used to lose them all the time, and it's, how do you lose something you work 40 hours for? I don't know. But I was so glad when direct deposit came out. So we can do the direct deposit directly into the account. That way you don't have to call, come pick up, go to P.O. box, what have you. You have your money directly in your account. Other owner benefits, we do screen the families to participate in a program for violent crimes, and to check to make sure they're not on a lifetime sex offender registry list. They're banned. The violent crime, you know, after 3 or 5 years, they're eligible, depending on the crime, but it can't be ongoing. It can't be, you know, they can't be found guilty of running a methamphetamine house or anything like that. They will have a time period to wait before they can re-enter the program. But the landlord's responsibility is you're responsible for finding tenants who can afford to pay the rent and for conducting all background checks. Another benefit, next slide please. With the ACV program subsidy payments are your best guarantee. So I've explained how when there's changes, if their income goes up, income goes down, we adjust it accordingly. And that way, you know you're gonna get your payment once everything is processed. And then sometimes when you're on your own, somebody lose their job and they're waiting on unemployment, you might have to wait a couple of months before they can pay you. But with our program, if they lose their job, we can make that adjustment effective within 30 days. Next slide, please. So the leasing process, first step is the housing search, second is the tenant screening, third step is the inspection, fourth step is leasing of the documents, and the fifth step is the rent and subsidy payments. Next slide. So the key documents that are required is proof of ownership, and if you're a property management, we need a proof of the property management relationship, a W-9, the voucher. We issue the voucher and it has an expiration date and everything on it, so you'll know whether or not the voucher is viable. Request for tenancy approval, the lease, and a housing assistance payment contract. That's referred to as the HAP contract. So in order to lease, we need proof of your identity. Next slide, please. Valid driver's license or government issued ID, deed or mortgage agreement, property management contract if applicable. Oh, that's just repeated the same documents. And then a direct deposit form. And we issue the form for you to complete and turn it in with a voided check. Things you want to make sure you do. You want to make sure that the voucher is valid. The unit size may be different from the bedroom size listed on the voucher. We will advise that family whether or not that unit is acceptable. So if you have a 3-bedroom house and someone has a 2-bedroom voucher, that's not an automatic, no, it doesn't work. What we have to do is run the calculations, and it may very well work if it's under the payment standard. And then you want to check the expiration date. The family has 60 days to find a unit, but the clock stops once the FHC receives the completed rafter. So what's that saying? when a voucher is initially issued, the family has 60 days to locate a unit. Now, if they find a unit within that 60 days, let's say on the 30th day they turned it in, the clock stops. So let's say the first unit don't work out, the inspection falls through, and then it's a month later after everything is said and done. They still have that initial 30 days left on that unit. So if you have any questions about the expiration, if you just look at it and say, oh no, you're not gonna qualify, you wanna reach out to me first or someone in my office. We'll make sure we check it and let you know whether or not they're gonna qualify. Next page, next slide. So the RAFTA requests basic information. I gave you an example of the RAFTA. It's the single white sheet. It's two-sided. So it requests basic information, bedroom size, when you want the lease to begin, and things of that nature. So you go through and you fill it out completely. And I will tell you, it slows down if it's not filled in completely, like if it's faxed in or something, because then someone have to call you back and check and make sure. Or if it's a lot of information missing, I have to send it back. So this is an example of the way to complete the RAFTA. And again, that's this form right here. So it asks basic information, and both the owner and the tenant must sign. So a lot of times tenants give us stuff, or we say, well, I didn't. My husband, you say, just fill it out and I'll sign it. I never do that, but that's why he was always having to evict people, because he didn't listen. But you want to make sure that you read through and you fill it out completely. And if you have any questions, you always want to reach out and let me know. I'm pretty quick on a response. And I try to do a very good job with the customer service. I hate to have you guys waiting when it's unnecessary. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and I return emails almost instantly, but voicemails, I return them about a day or so, but I check them every day. And then if you want, you can provide an email address, and then sometimes that's a little quicker, because if I have your email information, then once I get everything, I can just email you your contract, you sign and send it back, instead of doing snail mail, because that adds a couple of weeks to these steps. And once we receive the RAFTA, their time stops, and then it can be restarted. But any questions about the validity of vouchers, make sure you reach out, and I'll be sure to respond. Next slide, please. So, the lease is the binding contract between you and the tenant. The FAC is not a party to the, we're not a party to the lease. So that's between you and the tenant. And as far as enforcing the lease, that's up to you to do. A lot of times people, I've had it where landowners or landlords or management companies were reluctant to do anything if the person violated the lease because they were like, well, I gotta check and see if it's all right with us. You don't. The lease is your lease. That's your binding contract to the tenant. Initially, when we start, we have to do the contract for 1 year, the half contract, so the lease have to be 1 year. After the 1 year, it can go from month to month, it's fine, or however you want to do it, or you might want to do another year, that's fine, but only the initial lease can, that's the only one that has to be a year per the half contract. Owner and tenant may agree to go to, lease must include who is responsible for appliances and utilities. That's very important. Sometimes people use a cookie cutter or they just use one they've been using since the early 80s. I've seen one from the early 80s. Yeah. So you want to make sure that it's listing out whose responsibility is what. So if you put in there the responsibility, it's their responsibility to pay the water, and the water goes sky high and they're trying to put it on your taxes, you will let us know. We can help enforce that. They will have to pay that water off before they can leave the unit, or they will lose their voucher. That's very important that if any issues go on, we're made aware of them so we can troubleshoot and we can help you enforce the lease in that way. And it's never like, they can't just leave the unit without permission, so they have to do that initial lease, then they have to put a 30-day notice in when they want to leave, and we strongly enforce those policies because we don't want to be a party to any type of fraud or someone doing something they're not supposed to do on you, so leave you when they owe you and go somewhere else. They have to be current on their rent in order to leave the unit and keep their Section 8 voucher. And HUD's tenancy addendum is also required. That is also included in back of the HAP contract. Okay, and now we're to the HAP contract. The HAP contract is the contract between the Flint Housing Commission and the landlord. So you enter into one contract with the family, you enter into a contract with us. On the HAP contract, that's the one, it's about 12 pages. It goes through what our responsibilities is, what your responsibilities is, and then behind that you'll find the tenancy addendum. It starts on page 9. So, and it's very enlightening, so make sure you read the whole thing and thoroughly understand it. And I caught a typo after I printed everything. I did an example of the HAP contract. You got Elmo, Eckelme, address, the initial lease term, and where it says initial rent to the owner, that should be the full amount to $500. I think I accidentally put 100, but that should be 500. And then the 400 is how much of the subsidy we'll pay. So it's just an example there for you.
Does this exist in a PDF, or how is this?
It does exist in the PDF, but it's printed off the system. But since the example I used wasn't a real person, I just filled it out myself.
Yeah, but I'm just, okay, if, as a PDF, you could have fields and you could fill it out.
Right.
So that's what I was.
This one is an actual PDF that I filled out that way. But the ones that you will receive will be coming off the system,
Okay.
our data entry system,
Okay.
and then it'll have places for you to sign.
Okay.
And then by entering into that HAP contract, Flint Housing Commission agrees to make payments to the owner on behalf of the family in accordance with the terms of the HAP contract. And please read the HAP contract before signing. Next slide, please. The HAP contract lists the amount of the subsidy the family will pay to the owner on behalf of the family. The family is not responsible for the subsidy listed on the HAP contract and paid for by Flint Housing Commission. So the family will have to pay their amount per the lease, and then we will pay our amount separately. It won't be one check. Okay? The family is only responsible for paying its portion, and this means that requesting or accepting side payments from the family is considered fraud. So when we set how much the family pay, so for example, I have someone, in order to make the calculations work, they said they'll pay all the rent. I'm sorry, all the utilities. So they said they will pay all the utilities, the landlord did. So I was like, so what happens in the winter if it goes up, the consumer bill go up to 500 instead of regular 120? They're like, well, they have to pay it. That's what I mean by a side payment. You can't do that. If you say you're going to pay everything, even if it goes sky high, you still have to pay everything. So you can't get extra money from the tenant to make up the difference. Any questions about that? Okay. Next slide, please. What are the owner's responsibilities? Screening the applicant for suitability based on fair housing laws, maintaining housing quality standards, and provide access to unit for inspections. And that's very important. If you set up an inspection, you want to make sure that you're there to let us in, because that counts against, we come out twice to do an inspection. And if you're not there that first time, that still counts as one inspection. So if there's anything, I have landlords contacting me the day of saying, the power was supposed to be on and it's still not on, can I reschedule? Just call me before, or call Otis Love, our inspector, some of you know him, before, and we'll reschedule it. So it's not meant to be a punishment or anything like that. Anything we can work out. I'm very pro working things out rather than have people angry at me. So if there's anything I can do, I make sure I do it, okay? Enforce lease the same as an unassisted family and comply with the terms of the HAP contract. So next screen please. Owner responsibilities, lawful tenant screening, and this, I'm sorry, this is kind of small, and I thought I would be able to see this, so I can't quite see that. And I don't wear
Just
glasses.
step around the thing.
Step around the thing. I wore the perfect shirt. So, you're going to screen all tenants for suitability based on fair housing laws. You can ask Flint Housing Commission for previous landlord's contact information and complete background checks. Under fair housing laws, every citizen is assured the opportunity to live where he or she can afford to live. Federally protected classes, landlords cannot refuse to rent to families based off race, color, religion, sex, gender, national origin, familiar status, or handicap/disability. Locally protected classes, landlords cannot refuse a lease to a person based off age, sexual orientation, or marital status. So in our area, in addition to the federally protected classes, you also have locally protected classes. An equal access rule, housing shall be made available without regard to actual or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. Look at you, you was right, I could have read it. Next slide, please. Any questions about fair housing? I'm sure you guys know about fair housing. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. Number one, when I go to the office and I tell them that I have a unit available, can I request an elderly person or disabled person, or is that, I can't?
Nope.
Okay. Number two, the water.
I'm sorry?
The tenant runs the water up, and you said you would probably come in after they were leaving, and pay the bill.
When I'm made aware of it. No, we wouldn't pay the bill. So when I'm made aware that there's an issue, so if you see the water bill getting out of control, you will contact me at that time. Then we will have a talk with the tenant and try to resolve it, make sure they're making their payments as stated in the lease.
Okay, and if they don't pay it?
They lose, if you get a court order judgment, they have to pay it or they lose their voucher.
So what she said is, if they're not paying, right, you as the landlord gotta do your job, and you're gonna evict them because they're not paying their water bill, right?
And then as far as your first question, I'm sorry, Emily, I couldn't hear
You
you.
make the unit, list the unit as handicap accessible.
You can list the unit as handicap accessible if you wanted it to list it that way, and then an elderly or person with a disability would know. But you can't just advertise only.
Okay, handicap accessible.
Yes.
You get a water affidavit too.
Yeah, that's the other thing, you get the water affidavit, that's what, I usually recommend. Cause my husband didn't listen to me on that one.
On behalf of husbands, it's all right.
When he said, why did taxes go up? I was like, cause you didn't listen to what I said, And I asked him to meet me here for dinner, so if y'all see him, don't say nothing. Okay. So, did we already go to the next slide where unit must pass? So the unit must pass HQS inspection prior to leasing and must remain in compliance with the housing quality standards. So what happens a lot of times, we'll get a landlord, oh, you got Section 8, and they give you a sob store, you let them move in early, but we don't pay until it passes inspection. So if you let them move in on the 1st because the inspection is scheduled on the 3rd, and you fail the inspection over something, a couple of light switches or GFI outlets or something like that, and it doesn't pass until the 7th, we don't pay until the 7th.
So don't let them move in.
That's what I recommend. But you guys are always so nice and always so accommodating, but we not gonna pay. There are 4 types of inspection. The initial inspection is the first inspection that happens once you turn in a request for tenancy approval. The second inspection is an annual inspection. The third is a special. So if something happened like, I don't know, they say the furnace is not working and they've contacted you and you haven't resolved it, then we come out and do a special inspection and we go from there. So a special inspection is basically there's something that you need to fix after you've been properly notified. Because the first thing when they ask for a special inspection, I say, well, did you submit it to the landlord in writing? No, I called. I was like, did you submit it to the landlord in writing? So I just want to, when you guys rent, I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't lean one way or the other. If everybody do everything decent and in order, it's lovely. But if one party is a little slow and the other one a little quick and it's some off balance, I'll go for the documentation, what's in writing. And any complaint you have, it's important that you put that in writing and submit it to me. Some things can sever the relationship, so I need to know as things come available. What usually, as things come up, what usually happens is when a person gets ready to leave the unit, I found out that they were little gremlins, but it's too late then, they're leaving. So you want to make sure that as anything happened that we need to be aware of, that you let us know. And the final type of inspection that you may get is a quality control. So that's just me making sure that, or Flint Housing Commission making sure the inspectors are doing their job. So if Bob comes through and does an inspection, then I come right behind him the same day. It's not because you're doing anything wrong, it's to make sure Bob is doing things right. Somebody have a question?
No, I was gonna say the special request can come from the owner also.
Yes.
Saying, you know what, they're not keeping the house clean.
Yes. And anything that's a tenant responsibility, the tenant will be held to it. If they don't make the repair that they're supposed to make, they could lose the voucher.
Well, yeah, and then, hey, they moved in 12 people, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Next slide, please. So the owner responsibility with inspections, if the unit fails an HQS inspection, due to health and safety concerns, it has to be fixed, brought up, mediated within 24 hours. A regular inspection, you have up to 30 days. Now, if you don't make the inspection, let's say, I'm trying to think of something. That's not health and safety. Let's say cracked window. So, hole in the wall. Cracked window. If we come out, we do the inspection, and the cracked window needs to be fixed, you have 30 days. So if we come back out and re-inspect, and the 30 days is not fixed, your rent can be abated. That means you won't receive rent until it's paid. And we don't go back. So if you receive that your rent is abated July 1, and we don't make the payment for July, and then you fix it by August 1, we will pick back up at August 1, but we don't go back to paying July. Questions about abatements?
How would we show that it was fixed?
So you would receive, either the inspector would come back out, and if it's something like a cracked window, you could take a picture and fill out a form and submit that. Yes, sir.
What if the tenant cracks the window?
Then if you still would fix it, you can charge it to the tenant. So if the tenant cracked the window, you would still have to fix it, but you can take it out the security deposit or charge it to the tenant.
Charge it as additional rent. That's what happens because that's what the lease says.
Okay. And
Now,
okay.
but that's in a situation like that, the tenant, you are charging the tenant, it owes additional rent. That isn't
it's a repair fee. It's not really rent, it's a repair fee.
well, no, that's, everything has to be called rent in the courts, but, so it's okay, a repair fee.
For us.
Okay.
So you remember you can't charge additional rent?
Right,
So you would just call
repair
it.
fee for you guys.
For us, you would call it a repair fee.
Okay.
Okay? Did I see another hand? I must be doing an awesome job. I have lost my place. What we on, tenant eviction?
Still inspections.
Still inspection?
Yeah.
I think I was done there. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. So tenant evictions, owners enforce the terms of the lease, including evicting families for lease violation. This includes lodgers. Only family members listed on the HAP contract are permitted to reside in a unit. As he said, you can't have 12 people moving in. Owners cannot evict HCV program participants for non-payment of our portion of the rent. Victims of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking is a violence of violence against women, but that includes everybody, not just women. And justice, violence against women and Justice Department Reauthorization Act. Took a minute, but I got there. Prevents owners from evicting tenants based on such acts of violence. So if someone is a victim of domestic violence, you can't evict them for that. So what they would do is contact us, and if you become aware of it, you might urge them to contact Flint Housing Commission. It's some paperwork they will fill out, and we will go from there to try to help them through the situation, not penalize them for being a victim. Next slide, please. The HAP contract delineates the owner's responsibilities. Violating the owner's responsibilities are grounds for termination. They include failure to maintain owner-provided utilities and housing quality standards. So basically, if you agree to pay the water bill, once they get in there, you just can't let it get turned off because now you got Section 8 and you going to Bermuda because we just paid so much. Failure to maintain, any illegal activities such as fraud, bribery, violent, and drug-related crimes can get you, can get us to sever our contract with you. If the tenant loses eligibility for any reason, a HAP contract automatically terminates and so do payments from the program. So you would be notified if there was a change that was going to cause that subsidy to end in a fair amount of time. We wouldn't just, you wouldn't call one day on October 1st, say, where my money? And no, we cut them. So we would let you know ahead of time, okay? Next slide, please. What are the family's responsibilities? To comply with the terms of the lease, including paying their portion of rent on time. Provide access for inspections and repairs. We get a lot. Some family might complain about something. We talk to you like, well, they won't let our repair guy in. Those are things we need to know about. So when they come crying to us, we can say, well, I spoke to Mr. John, I guess his first and last name John. I'm getting tired. And he says that you didn't let the repair guy on last Friday, Wednesday, or yesterday. You have to let him in to make the repair. Okay? Maintain the property in good expenses, pay for repairs and any damages caused to the unit. That's like the broken window example. Submit annual documentation to determine continued program eligibility and report changes in income and family composition. So if you gain a job, lose a job, you let us know. You gain a family member, lose a family member, you let us know. Not you, I'm sorry, the tenant lets us know and we adjust their rent accordingly. Next slide, please. So again, this is a quick overview of how the program works. We do the steps are the housing search, tenant screening and selection, inspection and rent reasonableness, execution of the lease and HAP contract, and subsidy payments begin from the program and the tenant pays their portion of the rent. So how it's set up now, whenever you submit the lease and everything, we can start on that date. But moving forward, we are going to move towards starting to have contracts on the 1st of the month. That way, if we get something on the 28th, and we can have time, put everything in, so by the 1st, it'll be ready to go. What we're trying to get away from, Mr. Goodman making a face. What we're trying to get away from is having all these different dates. So if you have like 6 clients, tenants with us, each reporting period is different, but we wanted to start at the beginning of the month. So you know, okay, 2 months before the recertification date, you'll get notice that this person is coming up for recertification, and have if you intend on leasing with them again, and whether or not you're going to increase the rent. So you'll receive that notice. That's going forward. We're not doing that yet, but that's the plan, to make sure that we have everything so you can get your money timely, which is very important, and that the tenants get squared away timely. Questions? Yes, sir.
I got about 3 questions in one, I guess. First question is, notifying the landlord of what the tenant's portion would pay prior to 3 months into the lease. I had a lady that moved in on May the 3rd. I didn't find out what her portion to pay was until July or something. Consequently, she was already May, June, and July behind on her portion to pay because she said she didn't know and I didn't know.
So with that, we identified that problem, and that was
And you
ongoing
took care of
problem.
it. Right.
Yeah, so what we did is we set timelines. So if, when the person has to be notified in less than 30 days. I want to say once they turn in everything and they're approved, they have to be notified. I want to say it's 2 weeks or 30 days. So that should not happen going forward, but if it does, I do have my cards back there. You contact me directly and I'll take a look into it and I'll figure out what's going on and get you your answer. Next question.
Second question is, according to your HQS manual, if you do not get paid from you guys within 7 days,
7 days or what?
7 days of the month, if you're supposed to be paid on the 1st of the month, if you're not paid within 7 days, then we can charge late charges, the same as I would to anybody else.
For the subsidy for the Parks and Housing Commission?
Right.
It says a reasonable amount of time.
Well, they changed that then, huh? I got a manual that says 7 days.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just got here.
Well, okay, I got a manual that says 7 days.
But on the half contract, it's in the, some of you guys have a pink one, some of them are white. I tried to make everything different colors, but I didn't check how much pink paper I had. But it's a reasonable amount of time. So because we have, so the new timelines, we need to have those payments processed in 30 days going forward. We have a bit of a backlog that I've been working day and night trying to get resolved, even Saturday. Couldn't do Sunday. But trying to get caught up so you don't have those ongoing issues. But each of those issues I address personally and try to make sure that this is a beneficial relationship for both of us.
So does a tenant know when they come and look at your unit that if I take this unit, then my portion to pay will be $100?
No,
Do
sir.
they know that up front?
No, they don't know until we complete the calculation, and we can't complete the calculation until we get that unit information back from the request for tenancy approval. I'm sorry. So once we get the paperwork back, this one here, then this is how we create the calculations to determine whether or not they'll qualify. So they don't know instantly because each unit is different. Like some people pay water bills, some don't. Some use electric stove, some use gas. Some provide stove, some don't. So it's not until I get that calculation back, and when they come in and schedule the inspection, that's the point they should have known. So once the inspection is scheduled, they should know. If they don't, say, well, Talia said, or Mrs. Harper said, they're supposed to tell you. So you can send them back to me, and then I'll make sure that they have that information. Sometimes they forget, and sometimes we write on this little slip with the date of the inspection. Sometimes they lose that slip, and a few times we have to provide that to them. But we're working on it. We're getting better. We're trying to improve our customer service to the landlords and to the residents. Was that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Documentation, we're gonna need proof of ownership. You have a voucher, request for tenancy approval, the lease, the W-9, and the HAP contract. Responsibilities, comply with fair housing laws, maintain HQS, provide access for inspections, evict tenants who violate the lease, and comply with the HAP contract. Next slide, please. Making the program work for you. Be proactive about visiting and preparing the unit for inspection. Agree on the terms and amount of any security deposit and include it in the lease. ACV program tenants are responsible for paying their own security deposit. We do not cover that expense. Never allow a tenant to move in before the unit passes inspection and the lease and HAP contract are signed. Confirm that the tenant is living in the unit. I know I did a different Section 8 program before I did this one, and I had somebody, they came up for home buyer education, they had a different address. I was like, I think I just paid their rent. I checked, they had subleased. So you want to make sure that the person who's supposed to be in the unit is actually in the unit. And enforce your lease. Enforce your lease like you would with anybody else. Next slide, please. Making the ACV program work for our community. We are committed to helping our community grow and our residents to prosper by providing housing in pleasant communities at sensible rents. That's our mission statement. That's what we're trying to do with this program. The ACV program creates affordable housing from existing stock. Consider becoming a partner with ACV to improve the housing stock in Genesee County, and considering telling other landlords about the ACV program. And I do have paperwork in the back if you're interested in participating in the HCV program, and I also have my cards. But at this time, I would like to open it up for any of your wonderful questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your information says the household may engage in legal profit-making activities. What if somebody sets up a daycare or starts taking in other children and so on?
What? It's permissible as long as you're okay with it as well.
Yeah.
Often you have daycare centers because mothers aren't at home, they have little ones. It is permissible, as long as you're okay with it and as long as that income is reported.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't quite get your question. Sir, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. The medical assistant grants. Is Section 8 in any way involved with any of those activities like it used to be way back in the day?
No.
Okay.
If you had anything like that, I could possibly connect you. Disability network comes to mind. Sometimes they can help with ramps. And it's a couple of other ones that I can't think of because it's my bedtime. But if something like that came up, you would just let me know and I'll look into it for you and I'll try to get that information for you. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Is there a certain way we should advertise building units with you?
There's a form in the back that you can fill out. I didn't know how many people would be interested, so I didn't want to pass that out if you all didn't need it. So you can grab one of those and you fill it out. It has your contact information and the unit you would like to advertise.
And then email or fax?
You can email or fax or snail mail or walk in, however you want to get it to.
Okay.
And my contact information is on there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. is going to inspections every other year. Have you guys thought about doing that?
We do for some properties, for properties that don't have a history of abatement and pass an initial, or if it's minor things that don't pass, we do. You guys ever see those?
I got one from this.
Okay, Otis, I'll get with Otis and make sure those go out. Any other questions? No more? I'm done?
You did a good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will say though, because this is a question that's always come up, is the time frame shortened up? It sounds like you're really working hard to get that under control.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing we've heard.
So we want to provide you the best customer service, stay in contact, and do whatever we can do to facilitate. Yeah, we're trying to get those payments. I know Friday coming, I'm gonna have to check, I'm gonna be looking around crazy and trying to figure out what to do. So let me know, I have my card, I have contact forms for if you wanna advertise any of your houses. And any questions you have, be sure to let me know. And my turnaround time is pretty good. I try to provide excellent customer service. I try to look at how I feel that was me. I wouldn't want to wait 3 or 4 days to get a simple response to that. So even if the answer is I'm checking into it, I keep touching base and say, okay, I'll send off the information. I'm trying to confirm. I'll let you know as I receive an answer. Okay?
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. So the last order of business is the 50/50. We have a guest here. Who's going to draw? Last 4 digits, 5886.
Right here.
All right. Well, we got a winner. Thank you for coming out, guys. Have a good night.